Jim Hayward was the professor that talked to us about worse surgery, and I remember sitting in class and saying, "My heavens, why should I know about blood typing? Why should I know about Levine tubes? And I'm never going to have to insert one." Well, I remember with the first burn patient that came in, burned all over. I had to put the catheter, I had to put, and I never did that. And I remember, God bless Jim Hayward, because I saw a movie and I saw slides, and I was at the hospital, and we were at the University Hospital. I remember the first Levine tube that I inserted. I remember it was endotracheal, and I knew that someplace there was an esophagus, and someplace there was a trachea, and did I want to get the endotracheal or did I want to get the esophagus? And pretty soon I got that in there, started it, and the blood was coming out, so I was in the stomach. I was fortunate.
Sure.
And then one thing that, because of my lack of skills, and I had more skills when I left than I did when I came in, thanks to those wonderful, brave men, I don't recall, while I was rendering treatment, fortunately for me, because there were a lot of people that did pass on. None while I was working on. So I was fortunate.
Okay. All right. And I'm assuming that you're that the cadre of NCOs there,
Dynamite.
They were okay.
Dynamite.
Okay.
I don't remember any of their names, and I don't remember, but I remember who they were.
Sure. Okay. Right.
They were great.
Right. Okay. Did you have many casualties doing
No,
this
because
period?
by that time the combat troops were way in the north.
Sure.
And we were far south. We had casualties. We had a lot of aircraft accidents. We had fires. And we did have a situation where there were individuals that through the North Koreans at that time, and I'm sure that you've heard many stories from the different individuals. Each one is different, and there may be conflicting, and I would defer to anyone who remembers better than I, because it's been a long time, and I have not really had to talk about this or think about it in 50 years, except when we did the initial and so the conversation about this, and so but it doesn't matter how I go back in time. There are things that I remember and things that I don't.
Sure.
And
okay. Did you have so you were the chief medical officer for a while there?
dental.
Oh, okay.
Dental.
Okay. Did you have a lot of dental work also?
I did more of the general work that had to be done, and there were the dispensary was there, and there was emergencies and individuals that had problems, and certainly, and we had call every morning, and then we had appointments for those individuals that needed, and we did what we could, and we did the prosthetics, and that was just fairly routine. And we always had headquarters in Japan that we could ship people who had serious problems. I don't recall ever having to do that. The training at the University of Michigan at that time for a graduating dentist, it's 4 years, and it was pretty, and we spent time at the hospital, and so there was I thought I was well trained for what I was asked to do. I realized that I had a lot to learn.
Okay.
I think that in reflection, and when I am at a loss for remembering something, I try to remember something that I've read. And Churchill said, "In every man's life there comes a time when he is called upon to do a very special thing for which he is uniquely qualified. What a pity if that moment that could have been his finest hour finds him unprepared." And I felt when I was there that this could be the moment that I was trained, and it could have been my finest moment. And for me, in my life, it was. I took that as an opportunity. And right now, this moment, for me, is everything that I've prepared for the 50 years is to have this conversation with you and with you and with all the people that are going to look at this. And this is an opportunity for me to demonstrate what this preparation has been, whether it was a waste or not. And I think it was not a waste. I think it was something positive. So I've always tried to be positive. And I think of the cartoon that I saw once, and I don't want to waste time on this tape, but where two individuals are in the 7th subterranean prison, someplace chained to the wall, two of them. And one says to the other, hold everything, I've got a plan. I always had a plan. There's always a plan B. Whether I'm doing surgery, whether I'm doing an activity, whether I'm doing this, I have a plan B. And I know where the door is, and I know how to get out of here before all of you. I think. Maybe somebody else will. So plan B is a good thing to have. And I say that for my grandchildren, if they ever see this. Always have a plan B.
Right.
Flawless execution.
Right.
And that doesn't mean anything but that it can be flawless, even though it's never perfect. And flawless means you make accommodations for whatever gets in the way, and you correct it, and then you execute what you were going to execute to begin with. Flawless.
Right. Right. Okay. You mentioned that you had another medical personnel came on board. But how long? Well, what period of time were you there? You were the only.
I was not alone. I was with all these medics. They
Okay.
were all. It was all staff. The physician came back. It was a matter of weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Not a long time.
All right. Okay. During this period of time, also, how were you communicating with your family back in the U.S.?
Letters.
By letters. Okay. Okay.
And my wife, after I came back, we got married, and then many years later, I asked, and I wrote when I could, and she wrote every day. Evelyn, lovely, lovely Evelyn. Grandma, wife, mother. And I said, do you remember all those letters that we wrote to each other? She said, yes. And I said, do you know where they are? She said, I know exactly where they are. And then I was reading or watching the news on television, and I heard some noise in the attic, and then pretty soon here she comes with a great big box. She dumps them in front of me. I said, what's that? She said, the letters. And I said, oh wow, I didn't know you saved them. Should I say to everyone? She had hers, which was big, and mine, which was not that big. And then she ultimately reported that she was going to be getting ready for bed, and I said, well, I'll sit here and read a little bit. So I started reading the letters from letter 1.
Wow.
And at 6 o'clock, she came into the room. I hadn't moved. And she said, oh, you got up early. She usually precedes me in awakening. I said, no. I said, I haven't been to bed. She said, what have you been doing? I said, I've been reading all the letters. And then she said, all night? I said, yes. And I said, I read all the letters, and I have to tell you, I've fallen in love with you all over again. Gave her a big hug. And I remembered everything. And the interesting thing was that everything in those letters it's as if it happened yesterday. And it was wonderful. And now, why bring that up? Well, because we don't write letters. We communicate through computers, and they're lost. And these are so precious. And you can read the letters of C.S. Lewis. You can read the letters of great men. You can read, and the letters are ex-presidents and John Adams and Abigail, and we get into the lives of all these people, and we know what they said, and the emails are lost. So I have nothing against emails, but letters should be, people should continue to learn the Palmer method of writing so that it's legible, that we can read, and I guess doctors should learn that first so that they don't scribble. But
So you had in reading through the letters, obviously you had it obviously, I'm sure, rekindled some very fun memories.
Absolutely.
And did you have any flashbacks of when you were in Korea or when you were overseas?
Sure, I remembered everything. Okay. I remembered all the flashbacks. And your next question has got to be, were there any bad moments? There was not one bad moment.